So I'm really glad that a few Estonian companies were invited into this investors conference as well, and I do not know too much about the selection criteria, but I can really make sure that that the Olympic Entertainment Group is one of the best ones you probably could invite from Estonia. So this is for good news. As we do have roughly about 4,000 investors, I just quickly run it through, and I'm really glad to see that there are lots of Lithuanian private and as well as investment funds involved in our shareholding. So I think this is kind of a good opportunity to share some latest update what we have, and let me use that opportunity. Whoops. Okay. So before running to numbers and graphs, etc., so I just put few slides to introduce the Olympic itself. So here is the vision and mission. I'm not going to read them through, but at the end of the day, before the crisis, the Olympic was on really fast expansion mode. Then the crisis hit. We were hit as well. So we took a bit this pace down, but now it's again the time to move forward to our vision. So even I do not want to run ahead of the things, but I can already say that the Olympic is today focusing on expansion and looking for the new markets. There is a list of the history as well, but maybe to emphasize on only the or the most important things. So the company was established 18 years ago by two businessmen, and actually the interesting story is related to the Olympic name. So obviously it's connected to the Olympic Games. And actually the very first casino was open in Tallinn Olympic Yachting Center. And the Tallinn Olympic Yachting Center was built during these Moscow Olympic times. So this has the connection between the Olympic Yachting Center, Olympic Games and Olympic casinos. For the Lithuania, the Olympic was license number 1. So there were no casinos before here in Lithuania, and the Olympic was the very first one to establish casino industry and casino entertainment concept here. So lots of things happened in Latvia, Ukraine, Belarus, then the IPO, Poland, second listing on or dual listing in Warsaw, Romania, Slovakia, then exiting Ukraine, online casino, then exiting from Romanian market. And I do believe that during the current year we may see some new country in our portfolio as well. But of course I do not like to give let's say 100% guarantee that this will happen, but this is the really thing what we are working on right now. Now there is nothing too much mention about the chairman of the board. He's one of the founder of the company, so he is controlling 46% of the shares. Together with his business partner, they are having 65% of the shares. So the free float on the stock market is 35%. I joined the Olympic roughly 1.5 years ago as a CFO. So I was working previously in PricewaterhouseCoopers roughly about 10 years, and the latest years as an engagement leader. Then the effective from this January, we actually did some changes in the management board. So I became CEO, then we introduced a new person to the management, Meelis, who is taking care of all the land-based casino operations. And we are having the third member as well, Indrek Jürgenson, who is now only focused on the online casino business. So his, let's say, primary task is to develop the online casino. Not only Estonia, but to the other countries as well. Now lots of figures, and maybe I'll just run them quickly through. So the market capitalization is roughly, no, it fluctuates up and down, but it's roughly 190 million euros. IPO price was 2.34. Currently, the share price is 1.25, around that, and the average daily turnover is when we're taking this Baltics or the Tallinn Stock Exchange, it's compared to that, it's quite good. But compared to the rest of the Europe or US, it's obviously very small. So it's around 130,000 euros per day. Even though it's a Q1 update, I thought it doesn't make too much sense about talking only about the first quarter. So these are the numbers for the last year, for 2011. So Olympic made net profit of nearly 14 million euros, which is significant improvement from this crisis time. And for the first quarter, we already made more than 5 million euros of net profit, which is I would say very good result. Even creates maybe too much expectations for the rest of the 3 quarters. So in our case, our business has a slight seasonality, so the second half of the year is usually better than the first half of the year. Being a previous CFO, of course, there is a saying that the positive cash flow is the happiness for the CFO. So we are doing lots of cash, and we are in a very good position. So in terms of this cash position, we are in the net cash position, so roughly 45 or 50 million euros is our cash balance, or cash and cash equivalents. And the debt is around 5 million. So there is a net cash position of 40 to 45 million. Of course, there is always the question what we are going to do with that cash. During this year's AGM, it was decided that we are doing capital reduction, which is 10 euro cents per 1 share, which makes kind of dividend yield more than 8%. So I think it's quite good. And now some investors have asked as well why we are doing capital reduction, not the dividend payout. And there is only one reason for that. It's there is only one. It's legislative requirement. So during these hard times when the Olympic made quite significant losses, we are in accumulated losses position. So we do not have any retained earnings. And just based on the Estonian legislation, if you are not having retained earnings, you cannot pay the dividends. But we can do the capital reduction. So this is what we have done 2 consecutive years. So we are paying out 10 euro cents per share. The ex-date has been passed already, so the investors who would like to participate in this 5 euro cents payout, the time for this year is over, but the payout itself will happen most probably at the end of October, which again comes from the law. It cannot be done earlier. So currently we are operating in 6 countries, which are the Baltics, then Poland, Slovakia and Belarus. We used to operate in 8 countries, as I mentioned, in addition to these in Ukraine and Romania as well. Now we have 61 casinos. We used to have, before the crisis, 133, I guess, which includes Ukraine together with 27 casinos, and Romania, now something about 10 or quite close to it.